Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are plunging into a scenario that it sounds completely absurd on the surface,
Right.
but our stack of sources confirms it's a real, recurring, and, well, a measurable risk.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about the idea that one person with just one tweet could trigger a global digital tsunami.
And that one person is, of course, Elon Musk.
Exactly. The potential for parts of the internet to actually collapse under the sheer weight of one of his announcements.
It really does sound like headline bait, doesn't it? But when you dig into the data, the market swings, the actual service failures, the physical strain on the infrastructure, the risk is very, very real.
He's the man behind rockets and memes, but he also wields this enormous, almost destabilizing digital power.
He really does.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Our mission for this deep dive is pretty crucial. We want to get past the hype and really understand not just if this could happen.
But why? The mechanics of it.
Exactly. Why it happens, and maybe more importantly, what we can all learn from it to survive the digital chaos. We're really aiming for that aha moment here about the surprising fragility of it all.
I think we have to start with a fundamental flaw in how most of us think about the internet.
Which is,
That it's this eternal sort of vaporware cloud, something that just exists.
it's not. It's physical.
It's intensely physical, an interconnected network of things.
And what's fascinating is just how physical that vulnerability is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you trace the infrastructure, you realize it's a giant web of deep-sea fiber optic cables
Massive server farms.
and satellites, many of which are now Starlink. Our sources describe it so well. They say under massive sudden pressure, this whole web can bend and break like a poorly made origami.
That's a great image. It's so far from indestructible.
So that fragility, that leads us right to the core problem, right?
Yeah.
The specific mechanics of failure.
It does. We often think the internet fails when, the pipe just gets too full, but it's more complex than that. There's academic research, papers from the University of California, and some 2023 reports that say a traffic peak of just 20 to 30% above normal can overload key network nodes.
Wait, just 20 or 30%? That feels surprisingly small to cause a breakdown.
It is, because those nodes, they aren't just passing data along, they're acting like digital traffic cops.
Routers and load balancers, things like that.
Exactly. They're trying to coordinate the flow. And if they get slammed by a sudden simultaneous surge, they just stop coordinating.
And that creates backlogs.
Backlogs, resource exhaustion, and then you get what the experts call a cascade of failures.
So it's not just a traffic jam, it's more like a pileup.
A pileup where the breakdown of one central router starts shutting down entire regional segments of the internet.
And if we're talking about who can generate that kind of massive sudden spike,
Well, who else?
it's Musk. The sources even call him the king of peaks.
I love that name for him.
With over 200 million followers on X, his announcements don't just, generate chatter. They generate an immediate, massive, synchronized response.
And that synchronization is the key. It acts as this huge multiplier effect on the whole digital infrastructure.
And we could actually see this multiplier effect in some real-world case studies. So let's talk about the evidence.
Yeah, let's start with what we're calling the Dogecoin Deribo.
Ah, yes, 2021. The moment he tweeted Dogecoin to the moon, I remember the sheer frenzy.
Exactly. And that frenzy wasn't just, abstract excitement. It was millions of people trying to buy or trade or just log into crypto exchanges all at the exact same moment.
And that created an instantaneous, overwhelming surge in traffic.
Yep.
Which sites really felt the brunt of that?
The big ones,
Yeah.
Robinhood, Coinbase, they had instant outages or just massive slowdowns.
And the key data point from that was?
It was quantifiable proof. A single announcement can multiply trading traffic on related sites by 10 times in just a few hours. It wasn't the entire internet collapsing, obviously, but it was a critical failure of economic infrastructure, all from one man tapping on his keyboard.
Okay, so that's the crypto markets. But then it gets even more compelling when we move to his own infrastructure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Starlink satellite shocks of 2025.
Yes, there were two really significant incidents that year.
Let's start with July.
Okay, so in July 2025, there was a global Starlink outage. Lasted about 2.5 hours. The cause was an internal software failure.
And the irony here.
The irony is that Musk posted a simple tweet, "Sorry for the outage."
So his attempt to apologize just
Yeah.
made it worse.
It amplified the chaos, precisely. That apology tweet generated more traffic. You had users lodging complaints, searching for news, or just trying to load X to see the apology itself.
So the very active communication became a secondary stressor on the network.
Mm-hmm.
And the September incident was even bigger, right?
Much more widespread. We're talking tens of thousands of users offline in critical areas. Ukraine, parts of the U.S., I think Down Detector had something like 43,000 reports logged.
And then he announced improvements were coming.
Right. He followed up promising imminent improvements. And the search for that news, the spikes it created, were so great that it actually slowed down Google's services.
Just from people searching.
Just from people trying to process the frantic news queries. It shows the incredible scale of his immediate audience. The mere promise of an improvement was enough to strain one of the world's most resilient networks.
That is remarkable. And we saw a similar pattern later with the X super app stress test in March 2025.
We did. X suffered a major outage, and Musk, he very quickly blamed a massive cyber attack coming from Ukrainian IPs.
But our sources, they suggest a more complicated story.
They do. Cybersecurity analysts, and this was detailed in reports from places like Reuters, they suggested that, yes, a DDoS attack, a denial of service attack might have been involved. But the overall damage was heavily, heavily amplified by the hype around Musk's own announcement after the outage.
The one about turning X into an everything app?
Exactly, the super app.
For our listeners, can you just quickly break down what a DDoS attack is in this context?
Sure. Think of a website like a store. A DDoS attack is when thousands of bots all try to rush the front door at the same time.
Overwhelming the entrance.
And forcing the store to shut down for everyone, even legitimate customers. In the X case, it becomes almost impossible to tell where the malicious DDoS traffic ends.
And where the self-induced traffic storm from millions of real users begins.
They just blend together into one giant mess.
That's why he's the king of peaks. It's so hard to engineer for that kind of instantaneous overlapping load.
You really can't.
So, what does this all mean for the future? Let's walk through that hypothetical we mentioned. Imagine it's late November 2025. Musk reveals Grok 5, AI that predicts the future.
Oh, that's the perfect storm right there.
What happens first?
First, you'd see maybe 500 million simultaneous clicks, just people trying to access this thing immediately. The initial impact would be on X's own servers. They would almost certainly collapse.
And then the cascade begins.
Absolutely. Google Trends explodes, obviously. But then you start seeing these secondary service drops. We saw it happen in that October general outage that hit Snapchat and Reddit.
Right.
When one huge platform fails, users instantly flood the alternatives, and that can cause tertiary failures. You probably see rivals like Amazon Web Services, the ones hosting related news outlets, also struggle with the surge.
I remember that October outage. Musk was tweeting X still up while everyone else is down.
And even that tweet was itself a traffic generator.
Of course.
And look, this isn't just a fun thought experiment. This is where the scientific verification comes in.
This has actually been modeled.
Rigorously. A 2024 MIT study, it was published in the Journal of Network and Computer Applications, they modeled these exact events. They call them traffic storms, or even more formally, Musk events.
And what was their prediction for collapse?
Sobering. They predict that these kinds of events lead to localized or regional network collapses in about 15% of cases.
15%. Why is that considered so high? Are we talking about small outages or something more serious?
Well, the study defines collapse as a significant user-facing outage that lasts longer than 30 minutes.
Okay.
And it's often due to router failure, not just server congestion. So a 15% chance of that kind of failure, which could impact emergency services or financial transactions in an area, that's a serious risk, a very measurable risk that infrastructure managers have to account for.
It is. But,
Yeah.
There's a surprisingly human side to all this chaos that the sources mention.
You mean the memes?
The memes. During one of those Starlink outages, users on Reddit were just creating memes about
Yeah,
it.
they were hilarious. Things like Musk versus the sun. It showed this strained unifying factor of shared digital misery.
Right.
Even as the tech is failing and we're losing connectivity, it actually unites people through that shared experience and, shared humor.
It's a testament to the fact that people will always find a way to communicate, even if the main highway is blocked.
They'll find a side road.
Okay, so let's summarize the pattern we've identified, moving into our lessons learned.
The pattern is pretty undeniable. Innovation plus unprecedented hype equals a possible infrastructure meltdown.
And it's crucial to note, this isn't purposeful.
No, not at all. Musk isn't trying to break the internet. It's just his His sheer magnetic influence makes the global network vulnerable to these peak loads that it just wasn't built to handle.
It's a victim of its own success, in a way.
In a big way.
You mentioned a positive glitch earlier. These outages, despite all the frustration, they kind of reveal the humanity behind the tech.
Yeah, those simple, sorry for the outage tweets from Musk.
Even though they cause another traffic surge.
Hmm.
Are they genuine, or is it just smart PR?
I think it's probably a bit of both, but the effect is positive. A massive, faceless tech company suddenly has a single human face admitting fault. That interaction, that moment of vulnerability, it often brings users back faster than any technical report ever could.
That makes sense. It's a powerful tool in crisis management, even if it adds to the load.
Definitely.
So what's the primary lesson here for, the rest of the world?
The immediate critical takeaway for every network admin and global policymaker is the desperate need for more redundancy, greater internet redundancy.
We need backup routes.
We need backup routes. We need, figuratively speaking, anti-Musk satellites, or at least smarter algorithms that are designed to calm or throttle these viral traffic shocks before they cause that cascade of failures.
Systems that can see an explosive announcement happening and automatically dampen the load.
Exactly. Spread it out.
Okay, that leads us right into the challenges for the future. And these are some concrete questions from the sources that we want you, the listener, to really mull over.
First one, should Musk and XAI actually build an announcement mode on X?
What would that look like?
Something like, this tweet wastes 5 minutes before exploding, to prevent server shock, a way to dampen that immediate simultaneous shockwave.
And what about on our side, the user side? Should we be exploring local mesh networks or maybe offline-first apps?
The source humorously suggests a return to the facts, but with memes.
I love that.
But it speaks to a serious point. The need to decentralize risk away from these huge centralized platforms.
But the ultimate societal challenge.
It echoes the UN's 2025 connectivity report. We need unified global investment in infrastructure resilience because these digital storms, they don't respect borders.
That's the final synthesis then. The idea that the internet collapses with an announcement from Elon Musk, it's not science fiction.
No, it's a measurable, recurrent pattern. It's based on hard data and scientific modeling. It's just a fact of life now.
So we'll leave you with a final provocative thought.
Okay.
It builds on that UN recommendation.
If Musk's digital storms can consistently unite us in this collective chaos and shared memes,
Giving us this universal, if frustrating, experience.
can the necessary global investment in our infrastructure also unite us in finding a lasting solution, one that truly secures the world's digital future?
So next time you hear a major headline from Musk, maybe take a deep breath, make an analog cup of coffee, and really consider,
Right.
what announcement would it take to crash your local internet connection? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.